This is a production of WKNO Memphis. Production funding for Behind the Headlines is made possible in part by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
The politics behind $3 million in new pre-K funding for Shelby County schools tonight on Behind the Headlines. I'm Christopher Blank, news director at WKNO FM, sitting in this week for Eric Barnes. Thank you for joining us. In the past year, Shelby County has had a tumultuous relationship with the idea of public pre-K education. Educational researchers say it gives many kids the head start they need, especially in poor communities. But you may remember that last November, voters said a firm no to a tax increase to pay for local universal pre-K. Recently, the Shelby County Commission came up with $3 million for 1 year to help fund some public pre-K programs. But the question is how? How will that money be spent? Will it be used wisely? Joining me today to examine this issue is Shelby County Commissioner Terry Rowland.
Agrees.
And for our media representative today is Oliver Morrison for Chalkbeat.
Thanks for having me.
And later in this program, we will talk to some of the opposition to hear about how that funding should be spent. But first, I want to talk to you, Oliver. You've been covering pre-K for Chalkbeat Tennessee now. Why did the commission want to fund pre-K in the first place?
Great. Well, let me start big, and then I'll work my way small down it. So, as you mentioned in the opening, that there's just a lot of research around pre-K that it provides a huge benefit to children, especially in low-income communities. So you have that, but you also have the fact that in K through 12 education, they're not required to spend money on pre-K. So when you have a district like Shelby County Schools, which is struggling a little bit with their finances, they're having to close schools and save money, what they do, one of the things they look to when they're looking to make cuts is pre-K, because they don't have to provide it. And one of the main places that money is found in education is salaries, and so that's a quick way to do it. But cutting pre-K is not a popular thing. So when Shelby County Schools tried to do it the first time, they got a lot of backlash, and they brought in some of the classrooms, but they didn't bring back in all of the classrooms. And so the $3 million figure is sort of around trying to bring back some of those classrooms that were cut. Specifically, the district lost Race to the Top money, which was money that was a 4-year amount of money that eventually expired. And so the commission bringing this money is sort of mostly replacing classrooms and adding a few extra ones that were already there.
Now, a debate began over how this money should be administered. Tell us about what happened there.
Right. So there was two sides to this camp. One is that wanted the money to go straight to the Shelby County School District. And then there were commissioners that wanted instead to have it be ensured legally that the money would go to pre-K. So they wanted to fund it through an outside nonprofit. So they decided this was sort of a last minute thing that came up at the meeting, that they were going to go through the Shelby County Schools Education Foundation. And the idea was that while the Education Foundation could sign a contract that would legally bind them to put it towards pre-K, when the commission gives money to the district isn't required to spend it on pre-K. Now, with that said, the school board for the district said they would give it to pre-K, and the superintendent, Hobson, put it in writing that it was going to go to pre-K. So there was every indication that they were going to put it to pre-K, but for some commissioners, that wasn't enough, and they wanted it some more. Now, there's some question as to whether there were some other issues involved with this, that perhaps commissioners were looking to have the money be available to municipal school districts. Now, this didn't come up in the meeting per se, but it's my understanding that that municipal school districts could apply for it. Now, in the meeting itself, the only thing that was said was that the municipal school districts don't want pre-K. They're focused on getting open. So there are some trust issues. Do we trust Shelby County Schools? Do we trust the commissioners in what they're saying? And I think that's where the debate came from.
And just briefly, tell me, what is the Shelby County Schools Educational Foundation? What is that?
Basically, these foundations are set up to bring private money into schools. So every school district has one. All the municipal school districts have set them up. However, what's interesting about this one is that it's from the legacy Shelby County Schools is what it was originally set up. So if you go on their website, you'll see that they don't necessarily have anything updated to reflect the merged school district, and it's a little bit unclear from a reporter's perspective. And I've tried to get in touch with them to hear what their new directives and their new mission was. And they haven't yet made that clear. It also came up during the meeting that most of the commissioners, although they agreed to send the money to the Shelby County Schools Education Foundation, didn't know what it was. There was only 1 or 2 commissioners that did. So they made a decision to put the money into a foundation. They were really unclear about the mission and that kind of thing.
Let's go over to Terry Rowland. Thank you for being here
Thanks
today.
for having me.
So in the debate over whether to give the money directly to the school system, or to this foundation to administer for the pre-K programs. What emerged was some subtle and also some not so subtle criticism about Shelby County Schools itself. So, and one of the things that you brought up was that we might not be able to trust them with those dollars, to trust them to use the dollars in the way that the commission had said they wanted it used. So talk about your thoughts on that issue. Are there some trust issues?
Well, the way this all came about, excuse me, Commissioner Steve Mulroy come up with the $2.8 million to start with, excuse me, and wanted to use the United Way as the third party. They were going to, it was going to cost us $100,000 for them to administer this process. Then they wanted to do $6 million, $3 million this year and $3 million next year. And I told them, I said, you can't put next year's county commission on the hook for $3 million. You don't know you're going to have it in surplus or not. But they wanted that $6 million to go straight to Shelby County schools. And if we had done it that way, none of the other suburban schools would have gotten any of it. And we are the sole provider for the funds for all schools in Shelby County. So if whatever we come up with, it should be shared, and it's called ADA. It's an average daily attendance. The reason why I came up with the Shelby County Schools Foundation, because I am familiar with them, have worked with them in the past. Chris Price. Several people on there, Charlie Perkins, a lot of people that have really been real stalwarts in our community. I wanted an extra set of eyes to look and make sure that funding that we were sending was going to get to the kids. So many times that we fund something and then you get a bureaucracy that's set up and the money usually doesn't get where it's intended to get. And
you've cited some examples of that in the past. Can you name a few times?
Well, let's look. Last year we gave them $20 million. Oh, we got to have this $20 million to fund schools. The first thing they done was give the administration, the Shelby County Schools Administration, give themselves a raise. I'm talking about like to the sum of $12,000 a piece. Some of them more than that. That to me is not a good use of the money.
Well, what did the commission think that money needed to go for?
I thought it was supposed to go for the students. And I still think that it should go for the students, not for the salaries. Because all you seen was everybody getting a raise. Look, at the end of the day, this experiment, I guess you would call it, in this merged school system has been a train wreck. They said at first they were doing it to bring us together as a community. Now we're more separated than we've ever been. You got 7 school systems. You got 35 charter schools. You've got several state-run schools. We're more divided than we ever have been. But at the end of the day, each one of those kids deserve the same treatment. Now, I'm one of the only commissioners that can say that I've got every school district represented in my district.
Now, let me go back to Oliver for just 1 second. Do you see that, given what Terry just said, do you think that the commissioners need to be more wary about giving their money to the Shelby County school system? Do you think do you see a trust issue there?
I think it's a really good question. Like,
Should there be more oversight, I guess, from the commissioners as to the money that they're giving?
Right. I mean, I think it's a really good question because, you know, the vast majority of the money, we're talking many, many millions of dollars more than what we're talking about with this $3 million, they do just give over and put into the trust of the school system. And in fact, I think at the last budget presentation that Dorsey Hobson made, the commissioners were very laudable about, you know, that the Shelby County school system was moving in the right direction in terms of thinking about the budget broadly in terms of what it means for our community. So they do, and another issue related to this is that there's a federally funded Head Start program which provides preschool. And recently the county, just a month ago, decided that, or their contract expired, and under the understanding that that Shelby County schools would start over. And again, we're talking like 10 times more money than we're talking about here. And this is money that the county, on the one hand, said, well, and they wrote a letter saying we're going to trust the Shelby County schools to administer the Head Start, 10 times more money, and yet then with this $3 million, for some reason, they want more oversight. I think that's a really, you know, it's a question for the commissioners. Why, with this much smaller amount of money, are they looking for that oversight when with other pre-K programs and with other funding, they're not looking for that oversight?
Now, we are talking about some criticism about Shelby County school system. They did issue a statement about the money that's being spent, the $3 million. The school system said in a press release, in a press statement, these additional funds from the County Commission will provide us an opportunity to serve classrooms affected by the loss of Race to the Top dollars. We will also be able to add additional pre-K classrooms to some of our highest need locations. Commissioner Rowland, tell me, what does the Commission see is a positive outcome from this pre-K program? What do you guys want to see in terms of results?
I want to see the numbers when they come back next year on how successful this program was before we give them any more money. To go back to what the gentleman was saying a while ago about why we gave up the Head Start. The Head Start, the way it was set up, there was a lot of fraudulent activity going on there. And plus, I think the county and the administration was trying to see a way to save money. And all those people that were in the pre-K, a Head Start, they were all considered county employees. It wasn't designed for that. No other county in the state of Tennessee ran a pre-K program. A Head Start program. No other. We shouldn't have been in that business. That's something that A.C. Wharton got us into before he left and went over to the city side.
But you think that a pre-K program funded by and run by Shelby County Schools is probably a better idea?
Well, it is. And let me tell you, it was the reason why I got the idea to do it the way we done it is because I didn't want Shelby County, the administration, or our government, hiring people. You'd have to hire a line of bureaucracy, people to work it and all this. You give it to this foundation that's already used to doing that, that's set up to do that, then you're skipping a whole level of bureaucracy there and actually saving money. Now, let me tell you, I wasn't crazy about giving the $3 million, but I knew that they were going to get something. So I had to minimize the damage they done by at least extending it to the other municipal schools.
Now we have about a minute left in this segment. Some voters might say, look, we said no last November to a referendum on raising taxes to pay for universal public pre-K in the county. Why is the commission interested in this to begin with?
I can't speak for the other commissioners, but what you just said, the city folks voted last November against it, okay? I represent all of Shelby County, not Memphis, okay? I have to make my decisions based on all of Shelby County, not just Memphis.
Though these pre-K programs will primarily be in Memphis schools.
Not necessarily, because I know of 3 municipal schools that's got them. And the reason I done it this way is so they could get a portion of that money. Now, if I could have got it to where we didn't give any of the money, I would have done that. But all I seen was they were giving $6 million to a school system. Now let me give you a disclaimer real quick. Dorothy Hobson and I and Kevin Woods were all great friends. And it's not them that I'm talking about, but because Shelby County Schools is more than them. It's the school board that I don't really trust a lot. I'm gonna be honest with you. And I don't see giving them $6 million to spend. If I could minimize that by giving $3 million and then getting it split up between the municipal schools, I've done my job.
I want to thank you both for being here, Commissioner Terry Rowland and Oliver Morrison from Chalkbeat. We are back with Behind the Headlines, and joining us now is Shelby County Commissioner Walter Bailey. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. In the earlier in the show, we had Commissioner Rowland here, who said that he said sort of controversially, I would say, that Shelby County schools can't really be trusted with the money that they have been given in the past, which is why the commission ultimately chose to give the money to a nonprofit foundation. And I take it that you don't have the same critical impression of Shelby County schools.
Absolutely not. In fact, I find that comment somewhat offensive and denigrating to very honorable, skilled, professional people who run that Shelby County system.
Mm-hmm. Now, one example that he gave was that the commission gave $20 million previously to the administration, who then gave themselves raises. He says that's not a good use of public funding. What do you say about that?
We didn't exhaust the $20 million. Most of that went for school expenditures. And that's what you call taking something out of context, taking it out of proportion in terms of the actual use of those funds.
So do you think that any of the criticism of Shelby County schools from local lawmakers is justified?
Well, any institution is subject to criticism if the intent and the motive are to effectuate change, to encourage change and progress, but to just be to sit on the sidelines and throw hand grenades. I don't condone, especially as I said before. I know the individuals, the administrators, and the staff people at the Shelby County school system to be nothing but the most first-class, honorable leaders, pioneers in education with a difficult task of dealing with children in this area of the country that come from high unemployment and other shortcomings and cultural shortcomings, and but the Shelby County school system makes it work.
Mm-hmm. So you would have been happy just giving all the $3 million to the school system directly?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I have nothing but the utmost confidence and faith in the Shelby County school system.
So
I think it's a first-class act.
Yeah.
I think it's second to none.
And they certainly have a huge mission.
Oh, absolutely.
As the largest school system in
an
the
enormous
state.
challenge.
Yeah. So were you happy then with the way it turned out, with giving the money to a foundation to oversee the money?
Well,
are you fine with that?
Of course, in politics, you can't have everything that you want. And at least we got 90% of it. We got the money ultimately going to the Shelby County school system.
Yeah.
And that was the point.
But do you think that's a good idea? Do you think
I don't
now
care about that being a conduit,
Yeah.
that is, that intermediary agency funneling the money from that would be provided by us. That's okay.
Mm-hmm. What do you know about the foundation? What can you tell
I
us?
know very little.
Okay.
But from what I understand, it's a very worthy operation, so I have no criticism against it.
Yeah. What do you hope that this money going into pre-K programs will accomplish overall?
Well, pre-K has been demonstrated across the country to be a very worthy first-class project for early childhood development. That is, for children ages 3 to 4 years old, to give them a head start for kindergarten. And study after study, of course, all the studies have demonstrated that it's a very effective program. That it gives the children a head start, and by the time they reach the 3rd grade, they, for the most part, are more proficient in math and arithmetic and writing and reading than their peers.
Mm-hmm. But I posed this question earlier to Commissioner Rowland. Back in November, county voters rejected the referendum to raise the taxes to create sort of a universal pre-K system. And
Right, for all children.
Yeah, and I wonder why the commission is interested in taking up the pre-K issue.
Well, it distorts the argument in terms of what the public wants when you look at that. They were rejecting a tax increase. Anytime you talk about increased taxes, whether it's sales taxes or property taxes, people have a natural tendency to say no. Mm-hmm. And but if the question had been, what do you think about pre-K? The question, it would have been overwhelmingly, we endorse it.
And certainly the county commission shares that idea. That
absolutely.
We need to have it in the county.
Oh, absolutely, we do. And
Yeah.
in fact, I'm for universal pre-K, not just pre-K for the Shelby County children, but for pre-K for all children and the other systems too, as well.
Right. And one of the questions that came up when talking about pre-K is who deserves pre-K? Should the program just go for underprivileged kids, or should middle-class neighborhood schools also have pre-K programs?
I think all children 3, 4 years old, pre-kindergarten, should have that experience of pre-K. I think that what it would do would be to enhance their living experience, their educational experiences universally.
Mm-hmm. But going to that question of where the $3 million is going to go, how do you see the dispersal of those funds and where do you see those classrooms going?
Well, of course, I'm not an educator.
Yeah.
So I can't have any real suggestion in terms of how the operation ought to be effectuated.
But does the commission have an idea of where they want to put the program?
No, I think the concept is the way is our role.
Yeah.
To support the concept, and the only way we can do it is through funding.
Mm-hmm. So, one of the things that Commissioner Rowland was also saying, because it's county money and not just city money, that those programs have to go to schools that are also in the county as well. And I guess some municipal schools will be getting some of that money.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. That hasn't been addressed.
Okay.
That's a legal question.
Would you be for
and I'm
that?
a lawyer, but I haven't done the research on it. And I haven't heard from the county attorney either.
Yeah.
So
But,
on that side.
but would you be for municipal schools getting
Oh,
some
absolutely.
of that money?
Sure,
for the pre-K?
absolutely.
Yeah. So you are currently the chairman of the Education Committee.
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're not the chairman.
No,
But you have been the chairman.
I have been the chairman.
What do you see the commission's best
In my 39 years of being on the commission.
in your 39 years of being in commission? What do you see in thinking about the commission's impact on local education? How do you see the Shelby County Commission making the best impact for children throughout Shelby County?
I think we ought to wholeheartedly support the Shelby County school system. It ought to have top priority in terms of funding, in terms of support, and we ought to stop at nothing to assure the citizens of this county that we've got a real first-class educational system. And we can do that. And I think we've got in place the personnel within the system itself, starting from the top, looking among the ranks of the teachers, the support staff. I think we've got in place a real proficient operation. Mm-hmm. And I think I would hope that all the commissioners would, most of the commissioners that is, would, because you're not going to get all, but I would hope that most of the commissioners would deem this a real top priority and support it with nothing but alacrity and enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I would like to thank our guests today, Oliver Morrison from Chalk Beat, Commissioner Terry Rowland, and Shelby County Commissioner Walter Bailey. Thank you for being here. And finally, I want to thank you for watching Behind the Headlines. Good night.